Welcome to today's deep dive. Imagine walking into a high-stakes banking interview in London or New York, but
But your English is really only good enough to order a coffee or, ask for directions.
right, exactly. It's a terrifying thought. But today we're unpacking an excerpt from this highly specialized text called Foundations of Professional Banking English. And the mission here is to explore how this material actually prepares early-stage English learners for that high-stakes finance environment.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating approach. The text is designed specifically for ESL students at the CEFR A1 to A2 level.
And for those who don't know, CEFR stands for the Common European Framework of Reference for Languages, right?
Right, exactly. It's the global standard for grading language proficiency. And an A1 or A2 rating basically means you have a very limited linguistic toolkit.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because an A1 or A2 level is usually about learning how to, order that coffee. Preparing them for a banking interview feels like teaching someone to swim by dropping them straight into a corporate deep end, but giving them a very specific vocabulary-shaped life jacket.
That is a perfect analogy because the text solves this problem through a heavy emphasis on professional vocabulary combined with basically just basic grammar structure.
Right. But here's where it gets really interesting. Can someone actually communicate banking concepts effectively using only basic grammar? I mean, doesn't a bank require complex communication?
Well, what's fascinating here is that professional competence in a bank doesn't necessarily require complicated sentence structures. It operates a lot like a game of corporate Tetris.
Corporate Tetris, I like that.
Yeah, you only have these basic square blocks elementary grammar structures, but if you drop them in the exact right spot using precise professional vocabulary, you still clear the line. If a learner has the exact right professional vocabulary, basic grammar is totally enough to clearly demonstrate knowledge.
Okay, let's look at what that actually sounds like. Because a native speaker might say something like, I was wondering if you might be able to help me initiate a transfer of funds to a secondary account.
Right, it's polite, it's looping.
Yeah. But the A1 learner, taught by this text, says something like, I need to transfer funds to my liability account. Please process.
Exactly. The nouns and verbs do all the heavy lifting there. Words like deposit, withdrawal, liability, asset. Grammatically, I process the deposit is elementary, but professionally, it's completely accurate and actionable.
Wait, I get that they can state a simple transaction, but getting the job means surviving the interview room. So what does this all mean for the learner sitting in that interview chair?
That's the biggest hurdle.
Right, because interviewers usually test for cultural fit and small talk, which these candidates completely lack. What happens when the hiring manager asks a behavioral question, like, tell me about a time you dealt with a difficult client? Vocabulary alone can't save them there.
Well, for an A1, A2 learner, the interview isn't just a test of banking skills, it's a test of this highly specialized language framework. The text actually prepares them through strict interview simulation.
Oh, wow. How does that work?
It trains the learner to listen for specific keyword triggers in the interviewer's complex questions. So when they hear difficult client, they don't try to tell a nuanced story, they use their Tetris blocks.
So they just stick to the basics.
Exactly. They strip away the unnecessary language. They reply with something like, client is angry. I listen. I check the account. I find the error. I fix the balance.
Wow. They completely bypass the storytelling and just map out the operational protocol.
Yeah, and banking HR departments often respond incredibly well to this. The assumption might be that hiring managers want charm, but in highly regulated environments, they actually value precision and risk mitigation.
That makes a lot of sense.
Right. When a candidate strips away the fluff and relies purely on operational truth, it signals clarity. The hiring manager knows exactly what this person will do when an error occurs.
Which fundamentally challenges the assumption that fluency equals competence. For you listening, whether you are learning a new language or just trying to communicate better at work, this text proves that precise, professional vocabulary paired with simple delivery is often the most effective way to show competence.
For sure. Often that corporate jargon we all use is just there to obscure a lack of true operational knowledge. People hide behind complex sentences when they aren't entirely sure of the mechanics.
Oh, 100%. But the A1 learner doesn't have the vocabulary to hide behind. They have to demonstrate exactly what they know, plainly and directly.
Yep, it's incredibly efficient.
Which leaves us with a final provocative thought for your next meeting. If an A1, A2 English learner can successfully navigate a banking interview using only basic grammar and targeted vocabulary, how much of our own complicated daily workplace jargon is actually completely unnecessary?